For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I was thinking about treasure recently. Did any of you pay attention, I wonder, to the Mega Millions lottery? And perhaps you remember a week or two ago when the prize winnings ballooned up to over $1 billion. It's billion with a B. $1 billion. So I wonder if any of you bought tickets. I admit that I bought two. I knew the odds 300 times more likely to be struck by lightning than to win the Mega Millions. And I actually don't gamble in any other circumstance, not even poker. I just don't find it fun and to lose money. And I also just seen too many people who have problems from gambling. So, but I reasoned, the lottery, the Mega Millions, the proceeds go to a good cause, right? Even if you're throwing $4 down the drain for those 2 tickets. In New Jersey, after all, we use lottery revenue to help fund the pension systems for public workers, including teachers, firefighters, police officers, and other government employees. That's a good cause. And after all, someone has to win eventually, right? Someone did. But spoiler alert, it wasn't me. And, the reality is almost no one wins the lottery. Of the millions of people who buy those tickets, hardly anyone wins. And so, we put all these resources, maybe not much, but still, from all the people who buy even one ticket, and some people buy a lot more, what if we pooled those resources and, yes, half of that maybe supports pension systems, but what if we pooled all of it and did something good with it? That would benefit a lot more people, probably, than just the one winner, and then plus people who get the help with pensions. What if we pooled our resources and did some great project? But, oh well. The founder of Asbury Park, James A. Bradley, now he thought he had come upon a jackpot whenever he visited the Jersey Shore. And while he was looking for personal profits, when he bought the land, all the land around here, to create a resort community, he also had a vision for the public good. He intended his new city by the sea to be a holy place, a fitting neighbor for Ocean Grove and its Methodist camp meetings. That's why he donated land for churches, including this church, Trinity Church. And so churches were constructed along Grand Avenue to be an example to the community, to be a prominent place in the community. And then another early church built nearby was Holy Spirit Church, a few blocks over from Grand. And today, there must be at least 24 religious congregations in this town, including one mosque. And they range from grand edifices, rather like this one, First Methodist, Holy Spirit, to storefront churches, and even buildingless congregations that worship in other venues. So there's a lot of churches, but despite Bradley's intentions, Asbury did not exactly live into his vision of a wholesome and holy place. Turns out visitors and residents alike wanted to have some fun, a little drinking, a little dancing, and a little secular music. Oh my, scandalous. Probably some actually scandalous things were happening too, but we won't say anything about that. Still, in the face of such scandal and sin, the churches flourished. Maybe they flourished because of it. People come to church after sitting on Saturday. But Asbury, over time, fell into some hard times. In the early part of the 20th century, hotels began to close as beachgoers shifted from week-long stays to day trips made possible by the automobile and highways. In the 1950s, downtown commerce was challenged by new suburban shopping centers with plentiful parking. Then in the early 1970s, racial injustice exploded into property obstruction and violence, and many people with means to do so, and also many congregations, packed up and moved to suburban communities that surround us. This all coincided at a time in our society of growing secularization. Fewer people today attend worship services, and fewer people identify with organized religion. So in the face of all those trends, our neighbor Holy Spirit Church over on 2nd Avenue no longer had enough people to fill the pews of its cathedral-like building. And so the three Catholic churches in town, St. Peter Claver, Holy Spirit, and Our Lady of Mount Carmel, merged into one parish based out of Mount Carmel down on Asbury Avenue west side. And the Catholic Diocese of Trinity sold the Holy Spirit property just last year, I believe, to a developer who intended to preserve the exterior of the church while remaking the interior into condominiums. That plan apparently stalled apparently because of zoning restrictions of multifamily dwellings in that zone. So the developer proceeded with an as-of-right plan to demolish Holy Spirit and build single-family homes on 6 plots of land. As many of you know, that resulted in a huge outcry in the community from people who were opposed to that and hoping to preserve the Holy Spirit. And then that led to the planning board's vote just last Monday, to deny the developer's plan. Many people were very happy because it looks more optimistic for the future of that building. But what remains to be, what will happen with the Holy Spirit remains to be seen, because it's still up in the air, right? If the board does not change its position on zoning for that property, the case will probably go to court. Whatever happens, I hope this episode will generate thoughtful conversations here about historic preservation, development of housing, and also support for houses of worship and nonprofits, especially those that are struggling, but also those that might have a lot to offer. Many people have asked, why can't Holy Spirit be turned into a community center that serves meals and other programs in the community? Why can't it be turned into a performing arts venue to bring concerts and art exhibits to town? Leaving aside the finances involved in those questions, those discussions interest me because there actually is already another beautiful, historic church that is at once a worshiping congregation, an arts venue, and a community center. And from that laughter down there, some of you might have guessed which church this is. Yes, it's Trinity Church, our very own church. We are, in fact, a congregation, an arts venue, and a community center. Not officially those last two, but we do those. In addition to our church programs, we feed our community every week with the food pantry and the soup kitchen community meal. We help individuals secure housing in our new radical well-being program you've been hearing about. We provide them with wraparound services, help them stay there in housing. We host concerts and art shows, and we open our doors to community groups, recovery groups, after-school programs, as much as we can. In fact, last Monday, the Visiting Nurse Association's Prevention Resource Network set up a clinic right here in the church to distribute monkeypox vaccines, bringing 246 people through our bright red doors into this sacred space. Sacred space for sacred work. Sacred work of healing, prevention. In partnership with the Light Brigade Collective, we bring local and regional artists, performing artists, visual artists, onto our campus, into the gym and education space, into the church, to highlight their work and to bring new kinds of audiences into our building. One of those recent shows was one that featured visual works by incarcerated New Jersey artists. The idea being that they would display and sell their work. They were not here themselves, being incarcerated. And then the proceeds for those sales would go to benefit their commissary funds so they could buy more art supplies to continue their transformation, their healing. Because prison shouldn't be just about pushing people aside as punishment, punishment that may, of course, be deserved, but the better thing is to, of course, rehabilitate, right? And what better way than by creating beauty, by embracing, by becoming artists? And what a great thing. So, lots of things happening. And coming up on September 3rd, we'll be hosting a jazz concert to benefit our sister Episcopal congregation, St. Augustine's, and their food program. Trinity is just buzzing with activity. I've told people before, my vision is for this place to be busy 7 days a week, from sunup to 10 o'clock at night. And we're increasingly living into that vision. We want to do even more, in fact, to share God's love, God's life, and God's light here in this place with our community. Trinity is doing already the things people here in Asbury Park are asking for. We are a center for spirituality, social justice, and the arts. So, let's make sure people know about it. Tell your neighbors. Invite them. Spread the news. In fact, coming up in September, we'll provide 3 really good ways to connect. On September 3rd, we're going to reopen the indoor dining experience at our Saturday Soup community meal. We've been operating to-go meals for the past 2.5 years as a result of the COVID health crisis. But we've discerned that now it's time to invite people back so they can not only have food to nourish their bodies, but they can have conversations in community to nourish their spirits. And then later that evening, sign up to volunteer. It's a Trinity Volunteer Day. Sign up, bring a friend. And then later that evening, we're going to have that concert I told you about, that jazz concert. So come back and bring a friend, another friend. And then the next week, we're going to have our signature Jersey Shore ride for social justice. So invite all your friends and cycle for a cause. What better cause? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Last week, I did not win the lottery. And if I ever buy a ticket again, I probably won't win then either. But I believe with all my heart that I have a treasure that's worth so much more. I'm not talking about material riches, although I have immense gratitude for the pretty comfortable life I lead. As Father Tom Kavinsky said last week, if you wake up with any money in your pocket or any money in the bank that day, you're better off than so many people in the world. And it's true that maybe even in our midst, in this church, not all of us can say that. Some of us might be struggling mightily, and even in crisis. So I'm always hesitant to downplay the importance of economic security, but I do believe that my most important treasure, probably your most important treasure, is not financial. My most important treasure is love. That is where my heart is. Love of family, friends, partner, God, and faith community. This faith community of love, God's unconditional love. I really truly believe that I won a prize, a big prize, better than the lottery, when I came here to Trinity 2 years ago. We have our challenges, we have work to do, just like any church does, but we are a congregation that has been abundantly blessed, not just with this beautiful building, but much more so by the sweet, sweet Spirit in this place. We truly do strive to live up to our motto, God's unconditional love is practiced here. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Trinity is a treasure in so many ways. One that we want to share with everyone, that we need to share with everyone. I know your hearts are here in this place with mine, in this treasure along with mine. And so let's invite our friends, our neighbors, our community to find their heart and their treasure here also. Amen.